Okay, in this quick video for today, I am going to go over the annotated work cited from beginning to end again for you. We are 3 submissions in. The third submission will be turned in this Monday by 11:59 p.m. And there's some issues I'm seeing generally with all papers. So I'm still working on specific comments for each of you, but there's some things I want to address directly that are general concerns with everyone's. So we're going to just start at the beginning. You know, the typical layout of the page. Most of y'all have this just fine. But I want to make sure to go over it with you, and you can see how I am doing this in Microsoft Office, the most recent one being 2016. And I want your papers to look exactly like this. So for the section, it's going to be whatever section you're in. In this case, I'm putting my section 80, but you might be in 83L or 95M or 95L or one of these other sections. So this part is going to vary, and of course this part will vary, and this part will vary depending on your name. But my name and the date and all that will still be the same. So let's set this for the 29th since it's due that day. Notice the punctuation here is just a period. There's no commas. All right. So research, annotated, works cited, submission 3. So for the third submission, you have to have your hypothesis, which you've already developed, but some of you, this is where most of you actually are still having a great deal of difficulty. So I'm going to implore you to yet again, and I emphasize this so much, but I can't emphasize it enough, use the textbook. You have paid for this very expensive textbook. Why are you not using it? So use it to help you. So let's say you choose, I think the historical lens is a lens that many of you have chosen. Go to the section in Critical Approaches to Literature. In the 13th edition, it begins on page 1889. Look for historical criticism that begins on 1895, or whatever criticism you choose to, and seeks to understand a literary work by investigating the social, cultural, and intellectual context that produced it. So in this case, what you would do is take your short story, whatever short story that might be, and think about the historical time period that produced it and what that historical time period can tell us about the story. So I am going to take something like, this is a story none of you are assigned, but I'm going to take, and that's why I'm choosing it as an example, I'm going to take Nathaniel Hawthorne's Young Goodman Brown. So Hawthorne, I know Hawthorne comes out of a tradition of basically the tradition of Puritan New England, because I know about the history in this time period. If I look at this section in the critical case study, it gives me a biography. So I know he's writing in the early 19th century, and he's writing through the mid-19th century, really right up until the Civil War. And he's a contemporary with Edgar Allan Poe. This story, Young Goodman Brown, is written in 1846, which is, it says written in 1835, originally published in 1835, but published again and most well known in 1846. You can see that beside there. So then I would start thinking, this is the key, thinking about that historical time period. What was America like in that time period? So I could go with something along the lines of, in the U.S., of the early 19th century, there was still the shadow of Puritanism, and Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne examines those influences. So this is something that is arguable. It's something that's I can support using the text and using other sources. It's something that I can use, that I can debate. You know, I can have a discussion with someone about this. So whatever your hypothesis is, it needs to be even more than a fact statement. It needs to not be a fact statement. In fact, it needs to be a debatable concept. And even this is a bit of a fact statement. You know, this idea that I have here, it can be improved upon. So I'm going to actually improve upon it. I'm going to think about it in different ways. Young Goodman Brown illustrates that the hypocrisy of Puritan ideology and serves as a reminder to future generations that Puritan ideology does not lead to a happy or holy life. Now I've got something that's a little more of an argument. And that's what you want to do. You want to play with these hypotheses until you get something that is, shall we say, challenging. Something that requires really getting into the story and thinking about how it's put together. So, this is the lens I'm using. Historical criticism. It doesn't have to be the historical criticism lens. This could be any of these, but you use the lens to inform your argument, to help you narrow it, to help you focus it, so you're not just saying some lame thing like Young Goodman Brown talks about Satan. You know, who cares, right? Get in there and actually argue. So the next thing you need to do is actually put in your citation for the story. Which we talked about, a single entry from a textbook or an edited book or anthology looks like this. So you have the author's last name and first name in this order. You wouldn't highlight it, obviously. I'm highlighting it to show you. Then you would have the title of the short story placed in quotes. Then you would have the title of the anthology in italics. And preferably the full title. The spacing is why that's coming up as grammatically incorrect. And writing. Then you would have Let's check this. And remember, always do hanging indents with the citation, not the quotes, the citation. Students ask that question all the time, and I'm pretty sure I answer it, but I'm answering it again for you. Don't do hanging indents with the quotes, do hanging indents with the citations. So I'm going to my Writing Matters textbook, and I have the correct edition, the edition I assigned, the second edition made for our college. You might have a different edition, so your page numbers might be different. But I'm going to go look in the MLA section, since I followed instructions, and I'm going to test the rest of this and make sure that I have it correct. So I know I'm citing a work from a edited book or anthology. I'm going to look on page 306 through 307. That's the embedded table of contents. I'm going to scroll down and look for one or more selections from an edited book or anthology, printed or online. That's on page 310. I'm going to find that citation, and I have the model here, page 310, number 10, and I have the model for Rose for Emily, and we've done everything up until the editor. So now we have to put the editors. And the first editor mentioned on the cover is X.J. Kennedy. The second one is Dana Gayoa, or Jayoa, depending on who you talk to. We know this is the 13th edition. We know it's published in Boston. We know that it's published by Pearson. And we know its date is 2016. And now we have to find the page numbers for our story. So Young Goodman Brown in this case goes 452 through 460. And then we would put the word print since it is not online. And I have my citation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pick quotes at random to put underneath the citation, as some of you have done. I'm actually going to take some time and reread the story with my lens in mind. So I know I want to argue about Puritan ideology. And in order to do that, I'd have to know something about Puritan ideology. So I might have to do some side research. But I want to go in here and see some things that look like they illustrate that, and look for those quotes. So I could take something like this bit of dialogue on page 454. And notice I'm going to have to go in and reformat this because I don't need hanging indents here. Then I would put in the page numbers. And now I have this bit of dialogue that I can use as an illustration when I get ready to write. I want 3 of those, preferably. You would need more than 3, really, to have a decent paper. So the second submission, what you were supposed to do was you're supposed to go to library.lsco.edu. Now there's a link here, since most of you are off campus, on how to access databases off campus. You can go to that and it'll walk you through those steps. But as soon as you're able to log in, then you just go to databases for academic subjects. I almost always start with Academic Search Complete. It's the most thorough. There are other ones you can use and other ones people recommend, but that's the one I like to use. Full text, scholarly, periodical, article. Puritans and Young Goodman Brown. Sometimes the first time you put something in, you're going to find information, sometimes not. So let's see what this says, and let's see if it's useful at all. See, this isn't really going to be that helpful to us because, well, maybe there's some information in here. So in this paragraph, before the class started, Sarah told Mr. Garcia proudly that she was the only one that got it. Throughout the class, as he tells an upbeat, simplified version of the story, she is eager to answer questions and responds to the unfolding story with a laugh or comment. It is moving to see her pride in getting the story. We had talked a little about the Puritans' beliefs, their fear of wild forests and lurking Indians, and the meaning of faith, his wife, his religious faith, so she had some context into which to fit the story. And then he says something like, before we go on, we need to know something. They hunt witches. Sarah calls out, aren't they pure? Mr. Garcia writes that what they are saying on the board, praising pure. Someone says church people, and the students laugh. The teacher writes religious and says religious or church people, either one. Mr. Garcia talks about the Puritans' high morals. They sometimes go to an extreme with rigid rules. He gives an example of how a woman can't show their ankles. So I want to take this idea here from the article. Let's see if this might be useful. So I need to cite the article. Now there's a couple ways I can go about citing it, but I'm going to do it the old school way that requires using your brain instead of letting the computer do it for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Writing Matters textbook. I'm going to go to the MLA section. I'm going to look up on 306 that embedded works table of contents. I'm going to look for an article access to a database that's in a scholarly journal. This is a scholarly journal, and it's 315, 316 for online. I'm going to go to page 316. I'm going to select that article online. It says do not provide the URL. If the the person can't find it, you look down here and you see you have pretty much the same structure. Since this is a PDF, I like to use the second one, access to the database. You look at the model B on 316 with the Weaver Karen, and we'll use that one as our model. So we have Fairbrother and. We type that in. Now F goes before H in the alphabet, so I need to make this alphabetical. Right? And then I'm going to put the article title in quotes. No highlight here. Let's take off the highlights. And you're actually not going to use any highlights, so let's take all the highlights out. Alright. So the article is titled Into the Forest, the Teacher Heart of a Researcher. And we know it's the Journal of Education because we just looked at that. And the next piece of information we need is the volume and issue number. So where are we going to find that? Because all we have here is the date. We can scroll down and look and see, and sometimes it'll be on the page itself, but other times we have to actually go back to our result list and look at the entry on the result list, and it'll have the information as well. Now you can't just cut and paste this into your paper, because you don't use VOL or ISS to show volume or issue in MLA. You just type the numbers. So we would type 185 and do the number, the period, and then we would look for the number and it's issue 1. So it's volume 185, issue 1. And then we got this not through EBSCOhost. We got this through Academic Search Complete. So you need to make sure that you put in the correct journal or the correct database. And then we went to the web to get it, right? Oh, we forgot something though. With the numbers here, we forgot to put the year. So we need to go back in, and in parentheses, we're going to put the year. And the year of publication, because we want to make sure the article is relatively new, is 2004. Oh, auto format is very annoying at times. 2004. All right, make sure we need a colon. We need to put the page number since we have it as a scan. And the page numbers for this are 39 through, it's not 900, so we're going to actually go back to the article itself. We know this article doesn't go through page 900. So let's see, we got 39, and it's 8 pages, so that's 39 through 47. Looks like this last page, yeah, it's just a copyright page. So 45, 39 through 45. And you have to work. It is work. So don't try to cut corners. Every time students seem to try to cut corners, they make mistakes, or what I like to refer to as unforced errors. They're essentially mistakes that could lower their grade, and most likely will eventually lower their grade. And then we would want to put in these quotes that we have. Now you notice here I cut and pasted that, and what happened? It deformatted it. So I'm actually going to have to go in and retype this whole quote. I'm not going to do that in this video, but you would have to do that. So a lot of the time when we cut and paste, the formatting creates problems. I mean, we can try and see if that does it, but it still does this weird one word at a time formatting, and it'll do that because it's trying to keep us from stealing people's ideas, basically, which is what cutting and pasting sometimes does with a PDF and that sort of thing. So you would need to go in and do that. So now the next source is the new one that you're adding. So you have these 2 sources on here. You have 6 quotes at least if you've been following instructions. I don't have them in this example. I don't have a total of 6 quotes, but you should. So now you need to have a third source. Now this third source is actually a website. So yes, you could use Bing, or you could use Google to search. You could use any search engine you like. And you can start going in and finding out information. So I need to find out more about Puritanism in America. So I don't pick the very first site on here because I'm not sure it's going to be good. I actually apply that crap test that we learned about in 1301. So if you haven't learned that test yet, it's currency, relevance, authority, and purpose. So I look at the website, like this one here, this is a college. Usually colleges give us very good information. So this is a college. It deals with Puritanism. It gives us direct information about it. It links some sources. There's a timeline. To cite it, we even have, according to current MLA guides, supply the correct dates and use the suggested format below. So this even gives us the citation, and then we would have to plug in the date. Sometimes you won't get this, but this is one of those nice ways where it's okay to cut corners. So That's our citation. And then we need to put in the italics here. And then we want a date of publication or most recent update. So whatever date that is, let's go back and check it. And it looks like it was last modified on the 4th of July 2013. So we put 4 July 2013. And then we'd put the word web. And then we'd put the date we accessed it, which today is the 26th of February 2016. And then we'd go in and we'd put some quotes in. Now notice that this Puritanism, the reason I'm doing this, it's not an article about young Goodman Brown, it's an article about Puritanism. But my argument, my hypothesis requires that I know something about Puritanism. And if I don't know anything about the background of Puritanism, I'm not going to be able to write this paper. So I have to go in and look at things and find out, you know, about this idea of covenant of grace versus the covenant of redemption versus the covenant of works. All these arguments that are foundational to Puritanism and what it's about. You have the conversion narratives and compare some of those. I could look at some of those. So these sorts of sources, when they're vetted, when you apply that, critical lens, the crap test to it, can be quite useful. And then you would use this as a comparison to the article and also a way to flesh out your paper when you get ready to write it. So you'll need to go in and make sure that you have a total of 9 quotes. I'll be looking for 9 quotes. I'll be looking to make sure that your quotes are serving as illustrations for your hypothesis. I'll be looking to make sure that your citations are in the correct format and that there are 3 total citations. Now you would put your quotes, these quotes that you get from each article, underneath each citation. So it would look something like this. You would have quotes in between these citations. Notice that I did these alphabetical. The whole point of this is so that when you get ready to type your paper or to write your paper, if you have to handwrite it, you can access this information very quickly. You can find it very quickly because you will be writing an essay, a research essay, essentially in a timed setting, whether you're taking this online or face-to-face. And so the better this document is organized, the better this document follows these instructions, the easier that process will be for you. So this is the 3rd submission. You need 3 sources, mandatory. You can have more. They need to be cited properly. Remember to use Writing Matters. If you don't have Writing Matters for some reason, you can use Al at Purdue. Al at Purdue, however, doesn't always give, like, they have slightly different terminology for citations. So, you know, they'll, for the citations for a edited book or anthology, a source, that would look more like this. Let's see. You have anthology or collection. They have a work instead of a selected work in an anthology or collection. And then if you have multiple works, what I like about them is they break it down for poems and short stories as well as articles. So 3 sources, 9 quotes. The quotes have to connect to the citation, to the hypothesis. The hypothesis needs to be an argument. It needs to be debatable. It needs to be testable. It can't be just a fact statement. And it can't be an evaluation of the quality of the story. This is the second to last submission, the penultimate submission. The next one will include a lecture video that you discover, or a documentary, or a actual interview with the author, and I'll go over that in video form for you as well. So when you submit this the last time, you'll have 4 entries, and that will be the foundation of this. Now, my expectation is, after you've done this and submitted it the last time and gotten feedback, that you continue to do this research up until the exam, when you will actually apply the research. Remember, this is independent study in a lot of ways, so you're expected to continue the research on your own concerning the story and the lens. It's not something you can do last minute and an hour before due. If you do that, then you'll get nothing out of this experience, and it'll just be tedious for you. The idea is to create a solid research journal that you can then use to help you write this essay in a fashion that is representative of a sophomore in college, if not a junior in college. That's the goal. So that's what we're reaching for. That's the student learning outcome I have. That's the state's goal that I'm trying to uh, teach you how to do. And I'm also trying to teach you a strategy that will be helpful for other classes. You can use APA for this. If, let's say, you have an APA research paper you have to do for a anatomy and physiology class, or some other science course or a psychology course, you could use the same structure but just use APA instead of MLA, and you'll have this document that you've created that you can then use to write a research paper in a timely manner. And it helps. It works as pre-writing as well. It helps you start thinking about how am I going to really argue this idea. So it forces you to do that. So I'm going to attach this document to the video itself. I'm going to post the video in the news feed. You'll see it there. Um, I'm having a little bit of difficulty getting through all the grades right now, so please be patient with me. Hopefully, I'll have most of those grades tied up and caught up before spring break rolls around. So, and I'll be able to look at some of your discussions in the poetry section because I'm really interested in those. But be sure that you're posting 5 times in there if you have a discussion board requirement for your course. 5 times following the information that I give you in the syllabus on how to participate in the discussion forums. If you have any questions, as always, you can email me. So have a good weekend.